Whether you drive a Ferrari F50 or a Ford F-150, driving drunk is inexcusable. And despite this being common knowledge, 2,500 people a day get a DUI here in the United States. That is a lot of ruined lives for something completely avoidable. I wanted to get the sad stuff out of the way first because the rest of this video is kind of a joke. And if you are somebody like me who find comedy and tragedy to be one and the same, stick around. That being said, if you don't find the subject funny at all, I will advise right now to just go away.
Just ignore, maybe you'll go away.
Just for a bit. Because I wanted to look into what vehicles get pulled over most often for DUIs. According to a 2024 compilation of insurance claims from multiple sources, here's a list of the top 10 vehicles most often linked to DUIs. And it is my job to figure out what these boneheads may have been drinking before they got pulled over. Now, the stats around these vehicles are how many DUIs per 1,000 drivers. And starting this list off strong with 40.6 DUIs per 1,000 drivers is the Chevy Bolt. Now, the Chevy Bolt EV is a very practical vehicle for very practical people. Maybe too practical, as in, it's kind of boring. I mean, if you were interesting, you could have got yourself a Volkswagen e-Golf, but maybe that's a bit too fun. Fun is reserved for Sunday night football or a 2,000-piece puzzle that you've already solved. Chevy Bolt EV drivers didn't get a Tesla because it was too liberal of a brand when it came out and too conservative a brand now. Bolt EV owners find no joy in driving. Road trips and waterboarding are one and the same to these drivers. I'm sure it makes sense to a lot of people, but in the world of cars, this is one of the least imaginative options that you can have. So knowing a little bit more about the Chevy Bolt EV drivers, what do you think they drink? What was in their system before they got pulled over by the 5-0? Given the brand and the category, I get this vibe that it is a Coors Light and shot of Jim Beam kind of person. Their vehicle is strictly commuting. Their drink of choice, strictly for getting a buzz. Which, if you ask me, that's probably the least enjoyable part of having a drink. I don't want you to think I'm holier than thou, but at the same time, when you work in the wine industry and you're around as much alcohol as I am, you start to find an appreciation for libations that have nothing to do with the alcohol part of it. And that's what I imagine these drivers are blowing through the breathalyzer right after a Morgan Wallen concert. So the Bolt's going to go there in the middle for now. Next on the list is something called a Buick Envista. Hold on.
This is the new 2024 Buick Envista.
And you probably haven't heard of it. In fact, I've been asking all of my car enthusiast friends to name one new Buick, and most of them can't.
Well, you can be forgiven if you don't know what this car is, because it's about as ambiguous as a vehicle gets. The Buick Envista is a forgettable car from a forgettable brand, owned by melancholy, forgettable people. It is the off-white of the automotive world. Actually, it doesn't look that bad for this category. The Buick Envista looks like a car for people who really needed a Toyota Highlander or Honda Pilot, but they wanted an American brand, even though this vehicle is made in Korea. I forget which one. What are the owners like? I get the feeling they buy off-brand Diet Coke. These owners, I don't think they're young. Probably boomers. Probably part of an HOA for all the wrong reasons. And I just want to say, Buick owners, this is all a joke. Calm down. I do not want your blood pressure getting too high and affecting your COPD. These DUIs are the result of too many Seagrams and 7-Ups. It's a stale drink for uninspiring people, just like Buick Envista. Unless they started drinking at home, then we're talking about Shasta Lemon Lime. But they didn't want to Uber to Linda's for Machon, and so now they are getting in the back of a state trooper. How many DUIs per 1,000 drivers have these vehicles gotten? A whopping 72.1. That's about 72.1 too many.
And so that's the new 2024 Buick Envista.
Oh, this next one's kind of fun to me, because they haven't made the Chevy Astro van since like 2005, and it still has made it into the top 10 vehicles associated with DUIs. This is generational alcoholism. These vehicles are sold from one alcoholic to the next.
There's never been anything like the new size Chevy Astro. The new size Chevy Astro stands alone.
Now, Astro vans, these are for tradesmen. These are for blue-collar, hard-working dudes. They have every tool you could possibly need, and it's all in the back of their van. My buddy in high school had a Chevy Astro van camper conversion as his first vehicle. And let me tell you, some drugs were done in the back of that van. 29.9 DUIs per 1,000 drivers. That's strong for a vehicle they haven't made in 20 years. These owners either hang drywall for a living, or they're on their way to go beach camping from Arizona, despite the fact that they complain about California all the time. They're here every summer. If you walk by a Chevy Astro van right now, I guarantee you will find a pack of Marlboro Red cigarettes in the cup holder, drywall screws on the floor, and nothing in the interior is the original color it's supposed to be. Now, these are hard-working, red-blooded Americans. These are people who take their well-earned dollar and go get themselves a cold one. They're into cheap beer, but not too cheap. We're talking about the champagne of beers. Miller High Life has got to be it. Like a 32 ounce of Miller High Life is what causes these DUIs. I am certain of it. Looks like we got another Chevy on the list. The Chevy Blazer. The Chevy Blazer started off in 1969 as a full-sized SUV, and then in the 90s sort of deviated into the S10 Blazer, which was a little bit smaller, and your traditional Blazer, which was the big honkin' V8. The Blazer took a bit of a hiatus in 2005 and has recently come back as a crossover made in both Mexico and China. And each generation of Blazer is a vastly different owner. We have people like Mr. Zachary with his K5 Blazer. He came from Hoonigans. That's an actual car guy. Even Nick Cannon has a 1975 Blazer. Interesting people own old Blazers. And so do hillbillies. If you are a fly fishing enthusiast, an old Blazer is the perfect way to get around the bayou. But then the S10 Blazer, these are for broke-ass surfer dudes.
Just drop in, just smack the lip, whoop-ah, drop down, snap, ah.
Somebody bought it from their neighbor for $1,000.
It's that blue, older model S10 Blazer.
Now, the brand new Blazer, this is what Marines buy their wives before they go on tour. I'm going to say about half of these vehicles have been purchased using a GI Bill. And now, what beverage covers each cultural realm that these vehicles come from? I know. Cervezas. The OG Blazer owners, they're drinking Modelo Especial. A lot of them. Then when you get to the S10 Blazer, the baby Blazer, I'm thinking more like a 24-ounce can of Dos Equis. And then we go to the Soccer Mom Blazers. That's like Corona Light. But throughout the spectrum, I'm thinking Cerveza. That is 28.1 DUIs per 1,000 drivers with the Chevy Blazer. Uh-oh. We have another Buick on the list. Seems like General Motors has a specific audience they've been catering to that they might not be aware of. The Encore, which has never received one, these are nicely packaged little crossovers. They're based on a German Opel and were kind of redesigned for the US market. I like base premium hatchbacks, and I think that the Buick Encore, if it came with a different batch, probably could have been kind of neat. Now this to me is an old lady car. They wanted something new, something maneuverable, easy to get in and out of. These you see outside of a casino on a Tuesday morning. These little old Debbies are hitting the slot machines with their Virginia Slim menthol lights. Now, what do they drink? Well, if they get pulled over going to the casino, I'm sure it's because of some white Zinfandel. If they're getting pulled over coming from the casino, that's a well gin and tonic. They say the quinine helps with their headaches. Holy smokes, 58.7 DUIs per 1,000 vehicles. How about something fun? How about a car with some real character? The new Beetle. What a legend. That car completely reinvigorated the Volkswagen brand in the late 90s and early 2000s. That thing is cute. Downright adorable. I like to see these Millennium Beetles slammed on their nuts, especially the diesels that are rolling coal down the road. Just a goofy car. You have to have a good sense of humor in order to willingly drive a new Beetle. They were pretty lame cars for a while, but I think now have kind of come into their own. They're starting to become a little bit more of an enthusiast car. And if you get the ones with the 5 cylinders, they make an enthusiast noise too. One of my old neighbors in her late 60s, Deborah, she was a hoot. Bleached blonde hair, been single her whole life, just a rich personality, smoked a ton of weed, always dressed like she was going to a Hawaiian barbecue. I think I'm going to have to use her as the base stereotype for this. Deb, if you're out there crushing White Claws in the alley, smoking doobies, sup? Yeah, I'm thinking the new Beetle's on here because people were either caught driving stoned or they had way too many White Claws. Beetle is responsible for 17.4 DUIs per 1,000 drivers. Coming up right behind him at 17.3 DUIs per 1,000 drivers is the Chrysler Pacifica. This started off in life as a crossover and then has slowly morphed into a minivan. I suspect a lot of these DUIs are as rental vehicles. People on vacation. What do you do on vacation? You go out to eat and drink all day and all night. That's how Chrysler makes their money. They sell to rental car companies. But if I could just imagine the type of person who would actually buy one for personal consumption, what does that person drink? Who are they? That's somebody who regrets parenthood. They don't hate their children, but if they could turn back the clock, Pacificas, new and old, are usually good value for money. It's for people who hate the car buying experience, and that just so happens to have been the first thing they saw.
Hey, I need a car that fits, like, several people.
I got a car, it's over there, you want it?
Sure.
That's every single Chrysler Pacifica sale ever. The vacationers, they could be drinking anything. They're on vacation. But the Chrysler Pacifica owners... I know what it is. And it crosses both lines of rental car owner and proper Pacifica owner. These people are getting DUIs because of bottomless mimosas. If it's before 1 p.m., it's bottomless mimosas. If it's after 1 p.m., it's Aperol Spritz. And they consume these to feel youthful again. And it hasn't done any good. And now they have to Uber their child to and from school. This next vehicle invented the SUV. Came out in the 1950s, and since then has racked up 16.8 DUIs per 1,000 drivers. Yeah, I'm talking about the Bronco. It was produced from the mid-50s all the way into the 90s, and then it took a break, and it recently came back as Bronco Sport, which is a soft roader for passive-aggressive football coaches, and then the Big Bronco, which has become a more serious off-roader. But just like the Blazer, each generation, I believe, has a very, very different clientele. For me, the Bronco will always be the mid-90s O.J. Simpson white-on-white Bronco. New Bronco owners, these guys are like Budweiser and High Noon kind of dudes. They drink to just maintain. You don't see them getting belligerent, but they're constantly at a .08. Bronco Sport owners are still doing shots of Fireball like they're in college. Broncos up until the mid-70s, these are the craft beer enthusiasts. OG Bronco enthusiasts, they don't share their Pliny the Elder. They have IPAs in their bug-out bag. But the Malaise era, late 70s to late 80s Broncos, whoa, those things got Busch Light cans rolling all over the back. And lastly, my generation of Bronco, the 1990s O.J. Simpson spec Bronco, those are people who've had too many vodka Red Bulls. At 16.8 DUIs per 1,000 drivers, that goes there. A lot of these cars are kind of pedestrian, but this next one is more of an enthusiast car. And if not an enthusiast car, it is definitely somebody who values driving something interesting. The Jaguar XF, which is kind of like Jag's answer to the Honda Accord or Toyota Camry. I'm kind of surprised by this one. I actually almost bought a Jaguar XF-R. It was a 2012. Thing has like 500 horsepower. Would have been sick. But good thing I didn't, because then the likelihood of me being involved in this, in my industry, I think I dodged the bullet. If you got one of the nice ones with the R at the end, you're basically in a 500 horsepower Eames chair. But the average XF is just kind of a mid-shelf European thing. I don't even think it's a very good reflection of Jaguar as a brand. And these owners, I feel like I've met them personally. They didn't buy a Lexus or a BMW because they love the romance and the idea of owning something British. They want something that drives well, handles well, smells good, and they just make you feel a little bit more special than putting around in a Nissan Altima. XF owners are not quite in the tax bracket as the XJ owners, but they still like nice things. It's a compromise decision. It's a middle manager spec British saloon. XF owners work in corporate America. They're dentists, secretaries, real estate agents.
The sort of person who would go away for a weekend with his wife to a hotel, some romantic place, and spend the entire night flirting outrageously with a waitress, and it's okay because he's got it. Yeah.
And what do all those people tend to drink? New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. Let me make a correction. It's New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc on the weekdays and Sancerre on the weekends. Them's facts. At 27.5 DUIs per 1,000 drivers, goes there. Now the last car on our list, let me check. Oh dear God. I know I was making fun of you earlier, Buick drivers, saying this was all just a joke. I might have to take that back because the next vehicle on this list is the Buick Enclave. That has added 22.8 DUIs per 1,000 drivers to this brand's total. Good God, y'all need help. Anyways, the Buick Enclave is basically a family-sized Encore. They are for disgruntled substitute teachers, franchise Chipotle owners, assistant general managers of grocery stores. There's one thing for certain though, these people do not like their day job, which causes them to drink more after work. And because they've racked up some overtime, they want to spend their money on some good tequila, but not actually good tequila. I'm talking about like the fake good tequila, like your Casa Amigos. They're really balling out. You might see some Casa Azul, Don Julio. And if they're feeling festive, you might see them with a Cadillac Margarita. And you might be thinking, if this is the top 10 list of vehicles that get DUIs, what vehicles are the least likely to? Well, in my research, I have found the 3 least likely vehicles to get pulled over for DUIs, and that starts with the RAV4. Those are definitely the LaCroix enthusiasts. Hyundai Santa Fe, which to me screams kombucha, and the Toyota Sienna. I'm gonna guess tap water. And that's it for the top 10 DUI cars, or whatever I said the title was gonna be. I hope you had fun. Drink responsibly, or not at all. That's it. I quit.